Why is nobody talking about SamplTrek audio tracks?
Freebie.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, where I post new music-related content every single day, so if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Today's patron shoutout, I'm doing this early, today's patron shoutout goes to Lee Crampton. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. So today we are finally taking a look at the SamplTrek's global audio tracks and why I'm starting to wonder the reason for nobody talking about them, because they are absolutely incredible. Before we get into any of this, I just want to remind you all that this is a battery-powered, should you want it to be, $400 Groovebox / sampler / arranging station with the ability to export all of its tracks to your DAW. So speaking of tracks, let's talk about them. We have 10 different tracks that can either be loop tracks, one-shot tracks, instrument tracks, which takes a sample and pitches it chromatically, drum tracks, which allows you to take a whole bunch of samples and put them into a kit, or a MIDI track for controlling an external piece of gear. Okay, you get 10 of those tracks. Those are set out across 16 different scenes, and each scene has a whole bunch of parameters as well. But then, if we go down to the bottom here, we get 3 global audio tracks. What those are basically linear tracks that span the length of your song's timeline, which is made up by all the scenes, and you simply just record audio to them. It's kind of like how the OP1 handles its audio, all of its sound, actually. It has the 4 tracks, and those are just audio tracks. You can record the sequencers to it. You can record in live play, but it's audio. You're working with audio on the OP1. On the SamplTrek, like I said, you get 3 of those global audio tracks, but they hold a lot more secrets than just that. So on the surface here, let's see how they work. If you notice here, I've got the internal microphone set as my recording source. You can see the level there. Now what I'm going to do is go and enable a global audio track. And it does take a second to process that and pull it up. Now if I go into the track here, I can see that I actually have 3 lanes. I have V1, V2, and V3. These are takes, as Sonicware calls them, and each of our 3 global audio tracks has 3 separate takes within. These allow you to, as you might guess, record up to 3 different takes of your audio, and then you can actually go through and choose between those 3 takes and kind of splice them together to pick the best parts of each take to use in your song. Absolutely phenomenal feature at this price point, and I don't really think anything else exists that has it. So let me show you how it works. I'm going to pop out of here real quick and turn on our metronome. Let's go to scene 1 settings and just set it to 4 bars long. Okay. We'll go to scene 2 as well and make sure, yep, that's set to 4 bars. So let's go back to our global audio track, go in here. We're on take 1 right now. If I use the value knob, I can actually scroll around here. This is the linear timeline I was telling you about. So at the top there, it says scene 1 -1. If we go over here, we've got the start of scene 2 -1. And that -1 actually means the first time through that scene. We're going to get to that later because that's where things get absolutely wild. But let's go ahead and record some audio. I'm just going to go ahead and record some clapping here. We've got the click on. Let's go. So to record, we're going to press sampling once. That's going to enable the track to play on the timeline for you to practice with. If we press it again, it's going to turn red. That means when I press play, if you have the click on, you're going to get a count in and it will start recording. So here we go. There we go. It recorded. I'm also going to go and turn off the click here. Let's go and have a listen to our global audio track, which, by the way, will only play if you're in the global audio track or in the project playing the whole project. It won't play if you go into a clip or specific scene, and that's because, again, it spans the entire length of the project. So here we go. Okay, you get the idea, right? It plays the audio that we recorded. Let's now select our second take by pressing track 2. There we go. And let's record something else. Let's say we didn't like the first, measure of that take, and we want to come up with something else. So let's do that. Let's say we want to start with, got the click turned on. We are in take 2. Let's go ahead and record. Here we go. Okay. So now, as you can see, we have audio on take 2, right? Then we also have audio on take 1 still. So using the knobs here, B will zoom us in, we can use the value knob to scroll around and split these tracks wherever we want. So I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to split this right at measure 2. There we go. Split it. I'm going to zoom back out. And now just using the D-pad, wherever I am with the value knob, I can choose between my 2 takes. So right now we're using take 2 for the first measure, and then take 1 for the other 3 measures. We could also turn that off, and there's a mute section you can select down there as well. So let's have a listen to what this sounds like. Yeah. Super cool, super powerful. Hopefully you can see just how awesome this is. And this works with any audio input. So we could plug in like a bass guitar or a synth, which I think we're going to do right now. Let's just grab the NTS-1 here and get this going quickly. I'm just going to play the NTS-1 with my fingers here, but we could even set up a MIDI track to control it with the SampleTrek. But there we go. We've got the NTS-1 plugged in. I pulled the camera in a little tighter. Hopefully you can see the screen a little better for this part, because audio tracks get even crazier. Because remember, we just recorded some audio. And that was all just to one of our 3 global audio tracks. So we get 3 global audio tracks. We just used 1. Each one of those has 3 takes within it. But those global audio tracks are actually not bound to the same length restrictions that normal clips are on the SampleTrak sequencer and arranger. So if we pull up, let's grab a drum kit, okay? Sure, rock drum kit. And then if we go into a clip here on scene 1, press this button here, we can edit the length and note value of our clip. The maximum amount of steps that a clip can be is 128. That is 8 measures of 4/4 with a note value of 1/16. So that's 16 measures per scene, and you get 16 scenes. So that's still a pretty decent amount of music. However, let's just set this all the way back down to 16 and sequence a very, very basic beat real quick here. So grab a hi-hat. We'll just go some 8s there. Kick drum. Use that one. Just right there. Snare drum on 2 and 4. So here's a very basic beat. If we go into the scene settings here, we can actually make the scene itself up to 128 bars long or measures long. That is a very, very long time, because remember, we get 16 different scenes, and if each of those are 128 measures, well, that's a lot of music. Of course, it's just going to be up to our 8 measures that we have repeating when it comes to the standard tracks 1 through 10. But it's still going to register on here as up to 128 bars per scene, and we get 16 scenes. However, we can also come down here to repeat and tell a scene to repeat up to 16 different times. So in theory, you could have a 128 bar scene that repeats 16 times, and you get 16 of those scenes. That is an insane amount of music. Here comes the really wild part, though. The global audio tracks adhere to these numbers. So right here, I just set up our first scene to be 16 bars long and repeat twice. Okay? Now it's going to say processing, and I do believe that's because it is adjusting the global audio track length. Because just right now, instead of making that global audio track just the same 4 bars that the scene was already set to. It is now 16 bars, and it's going to play twice. Those drums are just going to play, the same bar over and over and over. However, our global audio track, now, look at this here. If we scroll through this, we have scene 1 the first time, goes all the way up to 16, and then we have scene 1 the second time, again goes all the way up to 16, before we move on to scene 2 the first time. Is that not absolutely wild? Do you know how much music you can record into this? I should also mention that you can, of course, use the mixer and the effects on the incoming audio as well, which means that you can effectively use this as a 3-track recorder. Not simultaneously, unfortunately. You can't record all 3 global audio tracks at the same time. There are only a pair of inputs on the back. But in terms of like a portable production station for on-the-go recording, nothing touches this, let alone at this price point of just $400. Let's go ahead and go into Global Audio Track 2 here, shall we? We're going to enable this. Okay, and if we go in here now, we can see the same thing as Global Audio Track 1. We have scene 1 the first time, scene 1 the second time, and then scene 2 the first time. I can just record audio to this now. Let's turn on the click and go ahead and record some audio. Okay, so obviously that was hot garbage. This thing is impossible to play with just a finger, but I just wanted to play something so you could tell what was going on. We still have all of our mixer controls for the global audio. Still have EQ. You can still go in and use insert effects as well. Let's go ahead and send the tremolo to Global 2. And as you can hear, Global Track 1 is still going too, the clapping and snapping there. So if you really wanted to, you could just use the 3 global audio tracks and completely ignore the, admittedly still pretty generous length restrictions of tracks 1 through 10 and just use global audio. You can plug a bass or guitar straight into this. It does have a microphone. You can plug a microphone into it. In fact, we will be using the E4 with this and the global audio tracks in an upcoming video pretty soon. But yeah, hopefully you can see the potential here, because remember, this can go on the go with you. I just unplugged it from power, and we're running on 6 AA batteries now. Some rechargeable batteries. I've had them in here for probably about, I'd say probably 4 or 5 hours of use at least, and we're still going. So yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. Now that I understand the audio tracks a little better, I'm going to be able to work with them in a whole new capacity, I think, and it's really going to make music making on the go with this thing a lot more fun. One major tip I do have, though, is to try to lay down the framework of your song before you start working with the global audio tracks, because They are meant to go across the whole thing, I think really once you have it finished. So, laying down a bass line on a bass, or a guitar solo in there, or putting vocals over the top of your song. Vocals seem to be one of the major intended uses of this feature, especially with the different takes function. Just super cool, and honestly, I'm quite blown away by this feature, by the global audio tracks, and I don't really know why people aren't talking about them, because it's pretty insane, especially at this price point. So I do hope you found this video informative, or at least entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike, that's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you all so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.